AI is popping up everywhere these days, but you're here because it's medicine that's really caught your attention.
Right.
So we're going to unpack 18 research papers covering the whole gamut from diagnostic AI to how AI is changing medical research itself. Get ready for a deep dive into this rapidly evolving world.
It's a field that's moving at an incredible pace. I think you'll be surprised by some of the things we'll be talking about.
So let's just jump right in, shall we, with AI's role in diagnostics.
Okay.
One paper that really stood out to me was by Weisheng Zhu and their team. They were working on something called FMCT.
FMCT, yeah.
And it's a 3D model. It's trained on this massive data set of head CT scans. But the really interesting part is that it uses a self-supervised learning approach.
Right. So instead of relying on manually labeled data, which can be really time-consuming and expensive, FMCT learns directly from the raw CT data.
So it's almost like it's teaching itself to recognize those subtle patterns that might indicate a problem.
Exactly. Yeah. It bypasses that bottleneck in medical imaging, the scarcity of labeled data.
Which is huge, especially for speeding up diagnoses.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And their research is showing that it could significantly improve both the accuracy and efficiency of diagnoses based on head CTs.
Now, switching gears a little bit to chest x-rays.
Okay.
We came across RadVLM. It's a conversational model developed by Nicholas DeProir and their team. And this one honestly sounds like something out of a science fiction movie.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's very innovative. It combines traditional chest X-ray analysis tools with large language models, the LLMs that everyone's talking about.
So it can answer questions about the x-ray.
You could think of it like an AI assistant.
Yeah.
Not only can it analyze the X-ray, but it can answer those really complex questions that you might have about it in a way that sounds like you're just having a conversation.
So it's like having a radiologist available 24/7 to help interpret those x-rays.
You could say that.
Yeah.
Especially in areas where there's a shortage of radiologists, which is unfortunately a growing problem.
Yeah.
And to test it, the researchers actually created a benchmark. They called it Chest Agent Bench. It really puts RadVLM through its paces.
Speaking of radiologist shortages, we saw that Alice Vian and their team tackled a different aspect of that. They're using AI to optimize spine MRI protocols.
That's right, yeah. Their models can actually predict image quality just by analyzing the metadata, all those little details embedded within the MRI images themselves.
So it's ensuring better quality images, but also doing it in a way that, aligns with how MRIs are supposed to be done.
Exactly. They're able to identify trends in those acquisition parameters and make sure things are done according to established MRI principles. And their models achieve some pretty impressive results, an F1 performance ranging from 77% to 93%.
That's incredible. And that's a big step, I would think, in building trust in AI-powered tools.
It is. Transparency and interpretability are so crucial for getting these tools adopted in clinical settings.
Now let's move into the world of LLMs and how they're being used to decode medical language. Amin Dada and their team created this data set called Medicine QA, which focuses on something I think a lot of us have probably struggled with at some point, understanding those really complex discharge summaries.
Oh, absolutely.
Right, they're like written in a different language.
Just like trying to decipher hieroglyphics sometimes.
Exactly. So they're using this data set to train LLMs to translate those dense medical summaries into something a little bit easier to understand. Patient-friendly question and answer pairs.
Exactly. So imagine getting your discharge summary and being able to just ask a question, in plain English.
And get a clear answer.
A clear, easy to understand answer that you can actually use to take better care of yourself.
That would be fantastic.
It's all about patient empowerment, giving people the information they need to really understand their own health.
Now we also have OpthBench.
OpthBench, yes.
Which is a benchmark developed by Qingfeng Zhu and colleagues, specifically to evaluate how well LLMs perform in Chinese ophthalmology. I thought that was really interesting.
It is. It really highlights how widely applicable AI is becoming in healthcare, covering a wide range of those clinical scenarios you see in ophthalmology.
And then there's Sainot Kim.
Yes.
Pushing the boundaries even further with their work on MedBioLM.
MedBioLM, a fascinating model.
It's a model that's optimized for medical and biological questions and answers.
And they're using both fine-tuning and this technique called RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation.
So tell me a little more about RAG.
Sure. RAG allows the model to pull in information from other sources. Think of it like having access to a vast medical library.
So it's not just about understanding the question, but also knowing where to go to find the best, most up-to-date information to answer that question.
Precisely. It has the potential to really revolutionize not only medical research, but also education and patient care.
But with all this talk about really powerful AI, there's also the issue of uncertainty and explainability, right?
Right.
How can we trust these systems, especially when it comes to, medical decision-making?
Yeah, that's a crucial question. And Hada Spinacha and their team are working on this. They're looking at Hebrew radiology reports.
Hebrew?
Yes, Hebrew.
Yeah.
Specifically, those reports are for Crohn's disease patients.
Okay.
It's an area that's especially challenging because of the language and because there's so much variability in how those reports are written.
So they're basically trying to make sense of all that using AI.
Exactly. They're using LLMs along with this technique called Bayesian prompt ensembles, which helps assess the uncertainty of the AI's prediction.
So not only do we get an answer, but we also know how much we should trust that answer.
Right. Clinicians need to know not just what the AI is predicting, but how confident it is in that prediction.
Makes sense.
It's all about building more trustworthy AI systems, which is really important when you're talking about healthcare.
Now, we also came across Daikat Can and their team who are working on Vista.
Vista.
And this is an AI model for diagnosing Alzheimer's disease. But what makes it stand out is how it explains itself.
It really focuses on providing evidence-driven and interpretable explanations,
Yeah.
aligning those images with verified abnormalities, giving clinicians those insights into how it came to its diagnosis.
So it's like it's showing its work.
Exactly. It's not just a black box anymore. It's actually explaining its reasoning process.
That's pretty remarkable. And that level of transparency has to be crucial for building trust and confidence in those AI diagnostic tools.
Absolutely. It's a move away from the black box approach to something that's much more accessible and understandable to clinicians.
Okay. Now, there's all this talk about AI replacing doctors, but a lot of these papers point to a different future, one where humans and AI are working side by side.
Right. The goal isn't to replace clinicians. It's to empower them with these AI tools.
Cha-Cha Chen and their team actually did a study on this. They had clinicians make an initial diagnosis of prostate cancer using MRI images, then they showed them the AI's prediction and then had them make their final diagnosis.
And what did they find?
Well, it's interesting. The human AI teams did better than humans alone.
Which makes sense. You'd think they would.
You would think so, right? But they still underperformed compared to the AI.
Oh, that's interesting. So they weren't fully trusting the AI's recommendations.
Exactly. It seems like even when you give people evidence of how accurate the AI is, they may still hesitate to fully trust it.
It really raises some important questions about how we design these systems. If people aren't comfortable using them, then they're not going to be very effective.
Absolutely. We also looked at a paper by T.E. Rober and their team. They actually interviewed clinicians to get their perspective on explainable AI, the XAI.
Oh, interesting. What were their thoughts?
They really emphasized the importance of training for clinicians, making sure they understand how these systems work and how they fit into their practice.
Right. And they want to maintain that clinician-patient relationship.
Exactly. It's not about replacing that relationship. It's about using AI to enhance it.
And making sure clinicians feel comfortable with these tools is so important if we actually want them to be used in real-world settings.
Okay, so we've covered AI as a diagnostic powerhouse and how it's being used to make sense of all that complex medical language.
Right.
We talked about the need for explainability and the potential for collaboration between humans and AI.
We have.
But the impact of AI goes way beyond diagnostics, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. It's making waves in all sorts of areas. Research, patient care, remote monitoring, addressing health disparities.
For instance, Bingsheng Yao and their colleagues are actually using AI for remote monitoring of young concussion patients.
Which is so important given the long-term consequences of head injury.
Exactly. And then we have Mardia Sani and their team. They created AfriSpeech Dialogue, a dataset specifically designed to improve speech recognition for African-accented English conversations.
Including those in healthcare settings.
Right, which is crucial for making sure everyone has equitable access to care.
It really is. And then there's Calma Ferreira-Barros and their colleagues using LLMs to automate and enhance qualitative research analysis.
So instead of replacing researchers, AI is actually helping them dig deeper into their data.
Exactly. It's all about leveraging the strengths of AI to make us better at what we do and ultimately improve patient outcomes.
All right. I think we need to take a deep breath for a second. We've covered a lot of ground.
We have. It's a lot to absorb.
So let's just pause for a moment and recap what we've learned. What are some of the key takeaways from all these papers?
Well, it's undeniable that AI is rapidly changing medicine. It has the potential to truly revolutionize diagnostics, make communication so much more efficient, and even accelerate research.
And while there are certainly challenges to overcome, it seems like the overall message is one of, optimism and excitement.
I agree. But that optimism should be tempered with careful consideration. As these systems become more complex, we need to start asking some really tough questions.
Such as,
how do we ensure that AI is developed and used responsibly so that it benefits both patients and clinicians?
That's a great point. And a great place to leave our listeners as we continue on to the next part of our deep dive into the world of AI and medicine.
We've explored some pretty impressive advances in medical imaging and how AI is being used to make sense of all that complex medical language.
Right.
But what about AI's potential to unlock the secrets of the brain itself?
Oh, now we're getting into some really futuristic stuff.
Well, it might sound like science fiction.
It kind of does.
But researchers are making incredible progress in this area.
Really?
One paper that really caught my eye was a study by Weibang Zhang and their team.
Okay.
They've developed something called NeuroLM.
NeuroLM?
And it's a groundbreaking model that aims to bridge the gap between language and brain signals.
So you're telling me they're trying to understand the language of our brains?
You could say that.
Wow.
Specifically, they're focusing on those electrical brain waves that we see in EEG scans.
Right.
NeuroLM is using the power of LLMs.
Those large language models.
To decode those complex EEG signals.
So it's basically treating brain activity as if it were a foreign language,
Exactly.
and then translating it into something that we can actually understand.
That's the idea.
That's incredible, the things that we could do if we can accurately decode brain signals.
The possibilities are mind-boggling. We could develop entirely new ways to diagnose and treat neurological disorders.
Wow.
Create more intuitive brain-computer interfaces for people with disabilities.
Right.
We might even be able to enhance human cognitive abilities.
It sounds like we're on the verge of a whole new era in neuroscience.
It really does, doesn't it? It's an exciting time to be working at this intersection of fields.
Absolutely. But let's shift gears for a moment from the brain to the broader picture of AI in medicine.
Okay.
One recurring theme that I noticed in all these papers is the importance of standardized benchmarks.
Benchmarks, yes.
We've already talked about chest to bench and off bench.
Right.
But there are others out there as well.
Absolutely.
And benchmarks are really crucial for evaluating and comparing different AI models.
They are. It's like having standardized tests for these models.
Exactly.
So we can compare different approaches, apples to apples,
Right.
track progress, and ensure that everyone's playing by the same rules.
So it's all about creating a level playing field.
Exactly. And Hanji Chen and their team have made a significant contribution in this area.
Oh.
They've created 2 new data sets, Jamie Clinical Challenge and MedBullets.
What makes those data sets so special?
Well, they're designed to really push the boundaries of medical question answering.
Okay.
They go beyond the simple multiple choice format that you see in a lot of medical exams.
Right.
And they present these really challenging clinical scenarios.
Interesting.
Importantly, both data sets include really detailed explanations written by medical experts.
So we can evaluate not just whether the AI gets the right answer, but how it got there.
Precisely. It's about understanding the AI's reasoning process.
Which is essential for building trust in these systems.
Absolutely. We need to be able to trust that the AI is making decisions based on solid medical knowledge and reasoning.
Okay, so benchmarks are crucial for driving progress in medical AI.
They are. They give us a way to measure how far we've come and identify areas where we still need to improve.
Speaking of benchmarks, there was another paper that stood out to me in the field of dermatology.
Oh, tell me about it.
Ukas Mietkevich and their team pointed out some inconsistencies in how AI models are evaluated in this field.
Inconsistencies, how so?
Well, different researchers are using different data sets,
Oh, see.
different image augmentation techniques,
Okay.
and different ways of reporting their results.
So it's difficult to compare the performance of different models.
It's like comparing apples and oranges.
Exactly. And their paper proposes a really interesting solution, a standardized framework for training and evaluation.
A standardized framework.
That's right. It's designed to bring more consistency and rigor to this field.
Okay.
And they actually put their framework to the test using a vision transformer model called DINO of 2 large.
Interesting.
And they tested it on 3 well-established benchmark data sets:
Which ones?
HAMM 1000, DermNet, and ISIC Atlas.
Okay, and what did they find?
They found that their framework not only made it easier to compare different models, but also provided valuable insights into the model's decision-making process.
How so?
Well, they analyzed the model's attention maps, which basically show us what parts of the images the model is focusing on when it's making its prediction.
So it's like peeking inside the AI's brain.
Exactly. And by understanding how the AI is seeing those skin lesions, researchers can identify potential biases or blind spots in the model's decision-making process.
Which is really important for ensuring that these tools are reliable and trustworthy.
Absolutely. It's all about transparency and explainability, which are essential for responsible AI development in healthcare.
Now, another topic that we can't ignore is the potential for bias in AI.
Right. That's a huge concern.
As AI becomes more integrated into healthcare, we need to make sure that it doesn't perpetuate or even exacerbate existing health disparities.
Absolutely. We don't want AI to make those inequalities even worse. Chunwei Liu and their team actually developed a tool called PalimChat.
PalimChat, what's that?
It's a chat-based interface for AI analytics.
Okay.
It's really interesting because it uses natural language processing.
So you don't need to be a programmer to use it.
Exactly. You could just have a conversation with the AI to get insights from your data.
That's pretty cool.
It is. And it has the potential to democratize access to AI tools.
Especially in resource-limited settings where people might not have the technical expertise to use more complex tools.
Right, but there's also a risk that these tools could perpetuate biases if they're not designed carefully.
So we need to be mindful of both the potential benefits and the potential risks of AI.
We do. It's about striking that balance between innovation and responsibility.
Absolutely.
We need to be proactive in addressing these challenges and making sure that AI is used to promote equity and fairness in healthcare.
Now, another aspect we can't forget about is the impact of AI on the doctor-patient relationship.
Right, that's crucial.
Healthcare is fundamentally a human interaction.
It is. It's built on trust and empathy.
Exactly. And Managed Sandwell actually addresses this in their work on layered chain of thought prompting.
Layered chain of thought prompting, that's a mouthful.
It is. It's basically a framework that uses prompts.
Prompts like instructions or questions.
Exactly, to guide an LLM through a reasoning process.
And this is for multi-agent LLM systems. It means instead of just one LLM, we're using multiple LLMs that can interact and collaborate.
So like a team of human experts.
Precisely. And the goal is to create AI systems that are more transparent and explainable in their decision-making.
So we can understand not just what the AI is thinking, but how it arrived at its conclusion.
Exactly.
And how does this tie back into the doctor-patient relationship?
Well, Sandwell argues that by making AI reasoning more transparent,
Okay.
we can empower both patients and clinicians to participate more fully in the decision-making process.
So it's not about replacing the doctor.
No.
It's about using AI to enhance that crucial human connection that's at the heart of healthcare.
Precisely. It's about finding that synergy between human intelligence and artificial intelligence
I like that synergy.
to achieve the best outcomes for patients.
Now, another study that you selected also looked at this human-AI collaboration,
Okay.
but in the context of doctor-patient conversations.
Oh, interesting.
Atharva Mangeshkumar Agrawal and their colleagues explored how AI could be used to support those real-time interactions.
Real time, that's a challenge.
It is, and they focused on 2 key techniques. fine-tuning with LoRa,
Okay.
which stands for low-rank adaptation, and the ARG framework that we talked about earlier.
Retrieval augmented generation, right?
Exactly.
So basically ways to make LLMs more efficient and effective for specific tasks.
Okay, so can you break those down for me a little bit?
Sure, fine-tuning with LoRa is a way to adapt an existing LLM to a new data set
Okay.
or a new task without having to retrain the entire model from scratch.
Which can be very time-consuming and computationally expensive.
It can be. And RAG, on the other hand, involves retrieving relevant information from external sources
Okay.
to enhance the LLM's knowledge base.
So there are both ways to make these LLMs more specialized and powerful.
Precisely. And in this case, the researchers wanted to see how those techniques could be used to improve the quality and accuracy of AI-assisted doctor-patient conversations.
Fascinating.
And they tested these techniques using real-world doctor-patient dialogues.
Wow. So are these models ready to take over the doctor's office?
Not quite yet.
Okay.
While the results were promising, there are still some challenges to overcome.
Like what?
Well, for example, the models sometimes struggle to maintain factual accuracy, especially when dealing with more complex or unusual medical cases.
Right.
And of course, there's the ongoing challenge of replicating empathy and emotional intelligence.
Which are so crucial in healthcare.
They are. So while AI can certainly play a supportive role in these conversations, it's unlikely to replace human clinicians anytime soon.
I think that's a good thing.
I do too. Healthcare is about so much more than just providing information.
It's about building trust, understanding emotions, and providing compassionate care.
Exactly. And those are qualities that are still best embodied by human clinicians.
Okay, so we've talked about AI's potential to decode brain signals,
We
the
have.
importance of benchmarks,
Yeah.
potential for bias,
Yes.
and the impact on the doctor-patient relationship.
Important considerations.
But there's another area where AI seems particularly well suited.
Oh,
Genomics.
genomics, the study of our genes.
Exactly. I imagine AI could be incredibly helpful in uncovering those hidden patterns in our DNA that could lead to breakthroughs in personalized medicine.
You're absolutely right. AI has enormous potential in genomics.
It does.
One paper that really highlighted this potential was by RadVLM and their team.
Okay.
They've developed something called Omni-DNA.
Omni-DNA, what is that?
They describe it as a unified genomic foundation model.
So what makes it so special?
Well, think of it as a really powerful AI model that can not only decipher the language of our DNA, but also connect it to other types of health data,
Other types of data, like what?
like medical images, electronic health records, even scientific literature.
Wow, it's like having all of that information at your fingertips.
It is, and it's trained on massive amounts of genomic data, so it can identify patterns and connections that humans might miss.
So it's like a super-powered research assistant for genomics.
You could say that.
So what are some of the ways that this could be used?
Well, the possibilities are really groundbreaking.
Like what?
It could be used to predict an individual's risk of developing certain diseases,
Okay.
identify new drug targets for personalized medicine,
Right.
develop more effective gene therapies,
Wow.
and just enhance our overall understanding of how our genes and environment interact.
It sounds like we're entering a whole new era of personalized medicine.
We are. It's a really exciting time.
It is, but of course there are some ethical considerations that we need to be aware of.
Absolutely. We need to make sure that this information is used responsibly and doesn't lead to discrimination or inequities.
Right. It's about using this technology to benefit everyone, not just a select few.
Exactly. And we need to have open and honest conversations about these ethical implications
Absolutely.
as we move forward with personalized medicine.
Now, speaking of analyzing information, you also selected a paper that explores the use of AI in qualitative research,
Oh, yes.
which is a very different type of research from genomics.
It is. It's more about understanding people's experiences and perspectives.
Right, and it often involves analyzing things like interviews, focus groups, and observational data.
Exactly. And Corferrer-Barros and their colleagues did a systematic mapping study on the use of LLMs for analyzing that kind of qualitative research data.
So they're using AI to make sense of all those stories that people share.
Precisely. LLMs can help identify patterns and themes in large amounts of text data, which can be incredibly time-consuming for humans to do manually.
Right, it's like having a super-powered research assistant for qualitative research.
Exactly.
How does this relate to the ethical considerations we've been talking about?
Well, by using AI to analyze this kind of data, researchers can gain a deeper understanding of how people perceive and experience new technologies, including those in genomics.
Okay.
And that can help us identify potential ethical concerns early on and ensure that these technologies are developed in a way that aligns with societal values.
So it's about making sure that AI is used for good.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And that it benefits humanity as a whole.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have. It's been quite a journey.
From brain-computer interfaces to the potential for bias,
Right.
from human-AI collaboration to the power of genomics.
It's incredible how much progress is being made.
It really is. But before we move on to the final part of our discussion,
Okay.
I want to touch on one last paper that stood out to me.
Which one is that?
It's Sianat Kim's work on MedBioLM,
MedBioLM, yes.
a model specifically designed for answering medical and biological questions.
It's a really impressive model.
It is. It uses that combination of fine-tuning and RA that we talked about earlier.
Right. To really enhance its ability to provide comprehensive and accurate answers.
So it's like having access to a vast medical library at your fingertips.
It is. And it can synthesize information from multiple sources, even generate hypotheses based on the evidence it's given.
It's amazing to think about all the potential applications.
It really is. It could accelerate scientific discovery, improve medical education, even support clinical decision-making.
It's a testament to just how far we've come in AI-powered healthcare.
It really is.
But as we marvel at all these advances,
Yes,
it's crucial to remember that AI is a tool.
it is a very powerful tool.
And like any tool, it can be used for good or for ill.
That's true.
So as we move forward, we have a responsibility to ensure that AI is developed and used in a way that truly benefits patients, respects human dignity, and promotes a more just and equitable healthcare system.
I couldn't agree more. The future of healthcare is a partnership
A partnership.
between human intelligence and artificial intelligence, working together to create a healthier world for all.
I love that. Let's take a short break and then come back to explore some of those emerging trends and future directions in AI and medicine. We've explored some truly remarkable advancements in AI and medicine. It's clear that AI is poised to revolutionize healthcare as we know it.
It really is. From diagnostics to treatment, research to patient care, AI is transforming every aspect of medicine.
But amid all this excitement, it's crucial to remember that AI is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or for ill.
Absolutely. We need to be mindful of the ethical implications and ensure that AI is developed and used responsibly.
One of the key themes we've discussed is the importance of human-AI collaboration. It's not about replacing doctors and nurses, but empowering them with AI tools.
Right. It's about augmenting human expertise, not replacing it.
Remember that study on prostate cancer diagnosis? It showed that while AI can offer valuable insights, clinicians still play a crucial role in interpreting those insights and making the final call.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance, that synergy between human judgment and AI insights.
And those interviews with clinicians highlighted the importance of designing AI systems that are transparent and interpretable, so clinicians understand how the AI is working and feel comfortable using it.
Transparency and trust are paramount, especially when it comes to healthcare.
Absolutely. And no matter how advanced AI becomes, we can't forget that healthcare is fundamentally a human profession, built on empathy, compassion, and the doctor-patient relationship.
Those are qualities that AI can support but never replace.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are some of the key messages you hope our listeners will take away?
I hope they'll have a newfound appreciation for the incredible potential of AI in medicine. But I also hope they'll understand that this technology comes with responsibilities.
Responsibilities to ensure that AI is used ethically, equitably, and for the benefit of all patients.
Exactly. It's up to all of us to shape the future of healthcare. And AI is a powerful tool that can help us create a healthier and more equitable world.
Thank you for joining us on this journey into the world of AI and medicine. We hope you found it as fascinating and thought-provoking as we did.
It's been a pleasure sharing these insights with you. And to our listeners, we encourage you to stay curious, keep asking questions, and be part of the conversation as we navigate this exciting new era in healthcare.